Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be going through 10 bands that I used to hate but now love. That's right, a bit more of a positive spin on things. And to make things even more positive, I'm sure that many of you saw my 10 bands that I fucking hate videos. By far the most popular ones I've done on the channel. It's probably how a lot of you found this channel in the first place. Well, there are 2 bands from those sets of videos that feature on this list. So there's 2 that I've reconsidered, so that's pretty cool, I think. But anyway, I'm going to start out with the band that kind of inspired me to do this video, and it's a recent band that I reviewed actually, and it's Ghost. Now, I have been a fan of Ghost since Prequel 2018. That album came out, and I absolutely loved it. But I think what got me about Ghost, and it's the same for a few of the other bands that I've got on this list actually, I was initially put off by the hype, you know? There's another band in particular I'm going to get into a bit later on who is very much the same thing for me. They were so hyped up at the beginning, you couldn't sort of help but see them everywhere, that it kind of put me off bothering with them. And I guess I didn't really even bother trying to listen to their music. I was so just, I couldn't be bothered with it. But yeah, I listened to the Prequel album in 2018, did a review of it, and I was blown away. Could also explain a little why I find some of their later material that much more digestible as opposed to the old school fans, because I got in at a point where they were really morphing into the 80s sort of side of things, but they still had that sort of heavier 70s stuff going back on. So when I was able to go back and listen to the earlier stuff, I was kind of able to appreciate all sides of it, you know what I mean? You know. So yeah, my first pick, Ghost, without a doubt. And also, by the way, I reviewed the Skeletor album last week, and I eventually ended up giving it a 7 out of 10. If I was to review it today, it would be an 8 out of 10. That album is fucking great. I really enjoyed it. The more I listen to it, the more I just get into it. Love Rockets. Fuck, man. Absolutely incredible fucking song. Absolutely love it. Yeah, Ghost. Not a band that I could be bothered with at first, but really, really grown to love them. I guess we'll go straight into one of the bands that I've reconsidered from the lists of bands that I hated initially. And the first one is Exodus. How could it not be? Now, to be fair to myself, I actually heaped a lot of praise on this band in that video. I've always admired Gary Holt, absolute fucking legend. I recently got the audio book of his new book. Is it Fabulous Disaster? I think that's what it's called. Great autobiography. I've been enjoying listening to that. So yeah, I've always thought he was a fantastic guitar player. I've always loved the instrumentation of Exodus, but it was always the vocals that put me off. And to be fair, I never really delved that deep into the band to write them off. I pretty much checked out Bonded in Blood, which of course is an absolute thrash classic. But I was never really a fan of the vocals. It just didn't resonate with me. And they still don't, to be quite honest with you. And then of course we had that was with Bailoff, Death to All Posers. He may have had some words to say about me, I don't know. I'm keeping it real with myself, and that's all that matters, people. But yeah, then of course you had the Zetro era, and I did try out a few albums with Zetro. I never took to his voice. I gotta say, I did actually kind of like, there was probably a good 3 or 4 songs on Persona Non Grata, the last album they did, that I actually thought were really fucking good songs, but overall not a fan. But so many people got on to me about checking out the Rob Dukes era, and I did, and the 3 albums that he's already done with them, fucking great, absolutely amazing. His vocal style is so much more appealing to me. I can resonate with that sort of vocal style so much more, and like I said, the instrumentation just always got me, so it seems more like a perfect mix. And of course now we've got Rob Dukes back on vocals. I was listening to the recent episode of David Ellison's podcast, and Gary Holt was just on there, and he was saying how basically the band have just gone in, they're in the studio at the moment, they've recorded 2 albums. And apparently what they're going to be doing, will of course have Rob Dukes on vocals. And apparently what they're doing, because they're old now, because they're getting older now, and they're getting tired, apparently they're going to be releasing 1 album soon, going to be going on a touring cycle, which can take anything from 2 to 3 years. And then once they've done that, they're going to come back and they're just going to take some time off because they'll already have another album recorded, which apparently they're going to release in 2 or 3 years' time. So I can understand why they're doing it. I mean, they've got to be, if they're not in their 60s yet, they've got to be pretty much fast approaching it. So, you know, you can't begrudge them that. So anyway, I'm going on way too long. Exodus, a band I've definitely reconsidered. The Rob Duke stuff especially, I've always respected them, you know what I mean? It's not like I fucking hate them, it's just clickbait shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, great band, Exodus, awesome. Right then, this next one, I'm very intrigued to see what people think about this one, because this seems to be one of those bands I don't really see a lot of love for, though there are people who really do love them like I do. King 810, I fucking love this band. Now, I mentioned earlier about bands that I was put off of because of hype. This band was so fucking hyped when they come out. Their debut album, Memoirs of a Murderer, came out in 2014 on Roadrunner Records. And Roadrunner, fair play to them, they, as far as marketing goes, they put this band everywhere. You couldn't escape this band. They were so fucking hyped up. And it put me off. It put me off bothering with them. They felt like a band that I was supposed to listen to, and that kind of pissed me off, so I didn't. Then we had the follow-up in 2016, the Petit Mort, A Conversation with God, rather. Again, on Roadrunner, hyped them up to fuck, and this was the last album that they do with them. I think basically Roadrunner felt that they didn't really know what to do with them. Now, this is a band that have really gotten a lot of shit because of the lyrics. They're always going on about their hometown of Flint, Michigan. But I think there's far more to them than that. I think they're actually a great band. I really, really do enjoy this band a lot. Now, I reconsidered them when I was reviewing albums back in, I think it was 2019, the beginning of 2019, for their Suicide King album. And I reviewed it, or should I say I listened to it for a review, not expecting much from it. And I was really surprised. The opening track, Heartbeats, is full on. Braveheart is heavy as fuck. But it was the track Wade in the Water that really grabbed me. For anyone who hasn't heard that song, check it out, Wade in the Water, on the Suicide King album. It's all about the Flint, Michigan water crisis, when the water was basically too toxic to actually drink. I've been listening to a lot of interviews with David Gunn. I find him quite a fascinating person, to be honest with you. I think he's actually a very thought-provoking person. He's very intelligent. Very intelligent. Anyone who hasn't checked out some interviews with him, do. I don't necessarily agree with everything he has to say politically or anything like that, but I don't agree with everything anyone says. So, but yeah, very thought-provoking guy. Very disciplined, very walking his own path. And they're just a band that I really think have a lot more going for them than people might realise. For anyone who hasn't checked it out, you might want to check out the Queen EP. It's like 5 tracks of more like, I wouldn't go so far as ballads, but more piano-based music and not the heavy stuff that you'd be expecting. They've had some great EPs. Follow My Tears was a fantastic EP that came out in 2023, I think it was. They released an EP called Under the Black Rainbow last year. It's not my favourite of theirs. Some of the tracks were a bit more kind of generic, but they had a track called Glow, which is, that was my most listened to track of last year. It's an absolutely exceptional song. I fucking love that song. And they're just a band who I think they've got a lot more to offer than people might realise. And I'll stand by that. Yeah, I think they're a great band. A band that I was completely turned off from because of the hype surrounding them. But once that had all died down and, you know, now they're pretty much just doing their own thing. They're an interesting band. You know, they're actually a lot more original than you'd probably think. If you check out what they're doing, like with the videos and their live shows, they're putting a lot more effort in than you might realise. Anyway, I've spoken about praises enough. King 810, fantastic band.
I thought it was worth reiterating the fact that this is a band that are doing things a little bit differently. So
I was just editing the video now, hence why I'm inside, stood by a window. But yeah, the band just put something out on their Instagram page at the time of me editing this, where they were talking about their upcoming album. The album was recorded all at once in a live room with audience and no click track, keys, synth sampling, sound replacement, etc. The record isn't perfect, but it's not supposed to be. We wanted to make something opposite of today's mind-numbing homogenous consensus. So I checked out their YouTube channel, and they were indeed recording the new album live in front of a bunch of their fans in the studio. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty legit, to be honest with you. Not only are they great musicians, they do switch it up a lot more than you might realise, and I think David Gunn actually has a really soulful voice. He might not be the most technically gifted singer, but I think he has, you know, you feel what he's saying, and that for me means a lot. Anyway, back to the fields. For my next pick, I'm going to go with another one that I reconsidered. Now, I'd like to say, before I get too much into this band, that I can't say that I love this band, but I thought that they were worthy of a mention on this list, purely because I can't remember if this might have been one of the bands that I was a little more scathing about. Most of the bands that I was talking about I was quite respectful of, you know, in that, you know, I didn't like them, but I respected them. I don't know if this was one of the bands I might have been a bit more of a twat about. But anyway, Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah, I can't say I love this band, but I've definitely reconsidered them since I made that video back in, I don't know, October, something like that maybe. It's probably a good 4 months ago now. I've gone back and listened to a lot of their music, and I found actually, you know what, there's some pretty good stuff there. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm that knowledgeable about their music or albums or anything like that, but I just wanted to say that I have gone back and listened to a lot of their stuff, and there's some pretty good stuff there. So yeah, I may well have been wrong about that. There's a lot of the other bands that I have gone back and listened to as well, and still just doesn't really do anything for me. But yeah, pretty damn solid band. So, you know, I think it's important to admit when you've been wrong, which, you know, I mean, in a way, me doing that kind of makes me a better person than anyone, doesn't it? Really. Yeah. My next pick is Morbid Angel. Now, I've been listening to Morbid Angel for quite a while now, and I fucking love Morbid Angel. But they were one of those bands I never really took to back in the day. There's a few of these bands as well. I'm sure it's the same for you. Maybe you heard a certain style of music that you just weren't ready for at the time. I gotta admit, David Vincent kind of put me off a bit as well. He was, I don't know, he was quite, come across a bit of a pompous arsehole in interviews. But yeah, I really got into them about, I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. And Jesus Christ, what a great band. I fucking love Morbid Angel. They have some amazing albums. Altars of Madness is rightly hailed as one of the greatest death metal albums of all time. The originality, the creativity on the album is pretty damn epic. It's pretty much a perfect album for me. I absolutely adore that album. Chapel of Ghouls alone makes it worth it. All right, mate, all right. They're all having a go at me now because of the Stone Temple Pilots thing, innit? We told you, you twat. We told you. All right. Blessed of the Sick, incredible follow-up. Very underrated album, in my opinion. Covenant, Domination. And, of course, we got the Steve Tucker era, Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. It's a great album, actually. When I did my 10 underrated albums, this album, yeah, Formulas Fatal to the Flesh, was one that came up quite a lot, and it is a fucking great album. Fuck off, all right, mate. Can't help feeling they're just taking a piss out of me a bit now, to be honest. I'm getting a bit self-conscious here. But yes, Morbid Angel, band that I absolutely fucking love now. I kind of like all the eras, even, what's it called? How do you pronounce it again? Illa Divinum Insanus. There's some okay tracks on it. It's not a great album. I'm not going to defend it that much, but it's, yeah, there's some okay stuff on it. But yeah, Morbid Angel, rightly hailed as one of the greatest death metal bands of all time. Yeah, rightly so. Incredible band, and really, really glad that I eventually got around to giving them a chance, and yeah, awesome. Next pick is a band that I've spoken about a few times on this channel, and that's Rancid. Another one that I only really gave a go about 4 years ago, maybe. Always been a fan of punk, and I fucking love hardcore. But this was a band that I dismissed purely because I guess I heard stuff like Ruby Soho and just kind of dismissed them as being this band that had a huge amount of ska influences, and I wasn't that bothered about it. Although, I don't mind some ska now, I have to say. I've changed. Yeah, I checked out and Out Come the Wolves, and my God, what an absolute banger of an album. Banger of an album. I just went back and checked out all their other music and I absolutely loved it. Tomorrow Never Comes, which came out 2023, I think it was, is a fucking amazing album. I love that. It's great when there's a band who are still going and been going for a long time and their latest album absolutely kicks your ass, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's a cracking album. If you haven't checked that one out already, then do. An amazing album. Yeah, Rancid, great band, and another one that I'm really glad that I got around to checking out properly and giving them a bit of time and just getting into it. Incredible band. Kind of sad really to think that my own prejudice, I guess, stopped me from listening to such great bands. It's amazing, maybe some of you can relate a lot of times as well. There are bands that we've written off that we've not actually really given any kind of any chance to whatsoever, which is sadly the case with many of these bands. But then on a positive, I have checked them out and I now do like them, so is it that bad? I don't think so. God, I'm great. I really am. Sticking with the punk theme, look at me just fucking chilling back here, just, hanging back, doing my thing. Speaking of the punk theme, Misfits. I always kind of hated the Misfits. Like so many people of my era, I, got introduced to them via Metallica with the Garage Days. Actually, it probably would have been a live track. Actually, it would have probably been a live bonus track on one of their singles back in the day. But yeah, they were a band that I didn't want to deal with because I couldn't fucking stand Glenn Danzig. To be honest with you, I thought he was a fucking prick, and I never really tried them. I never really gave them a go. But man, the melody that band had going, the catchiness is just absolutely insane. And one track that never fails to get me going is 20 Eyes. Oh my God, absolutely love that one. But yeah, Misfits are just a band that I completely wrote off because of Glenn Danzig. I just thought it was a complete dick. Actually, that brings me on nicely to the next bit because Danzig is my next pick. Yeah, Glenn Danzig is an interesting guy. I think he's probably one of those people who's comes across as more of an arsehole than he actually is. I think because he gives so little a fuck, he probably presents himself. Well, actually, you know what? I've actually watched a lot of interviews with him, and I don't think he does present himself that badly. I think he's actually quite thoughtful. He knows what he's saying. He's not afraid to say it, and he just says it. And he comes across as kind of a nice guy in many ways. I know he can be a dick. I know there's plenty of footage about. Although I remember there was that footage of him getting knocked out by that big motherfucker, that hardcore dude. And by all accounts, there's a lot of people who say that was a setup, that he'd been that guy who smacked him in the fucking, that guy who smacked him in the back of the head. Apparently he'd been trying to aggravate him for quite a few days. I think they were on tour with each other. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I've heard. But yeah, those first 4 Danzig albums, my God, they're good. Never really gave him a go back in the day, but yeah, I mean, this is a fairly recent thing. This has only been over the last couple of years, really, when I really started delving into the back catalogue, and that's some fucking good music, man. He had a good voice at one point as well. It's blown it out a little bit, and the Elvis shit he's done recently is not good. Not good at all, but yeah. Danzig wrote some fucking good music, man. That was a solid band there for a while. Just looking at some of the... Yeah, I don't have much else to say, really. I've run out of words there, didn't I? My next pick is a classic band, and that's Judas Priest. This is a band that I kind of wrote off. I've never really liked the higher-pitched vocals. For some reason, I always liked Iron Maiden. I guess, there's a lot of people, I guess, who make a choice between Maiden and Priest, and for me, it would absolutely be Maiden. I was always kind of put off by Judas Priest. I never really appreciated them, but back in, I think it was 2018, they released their album Firepower, and I reviewed that, and I enjoyed that album, man. That was a great album, real good return to form as well, from what I understand. And of course, last year they put out Invincible Shield, which was another great album. Just sounded like a bunch of old dudes who were kind of just enjoying themselves, just doing the music that they absolutely love and putting it out there. And I had such a good time listening to it that actually made me, go back and revisit some of the older stuff and really get into it. And my God, I mean, Painkiller, that's as metal as it gets, right? Even Turbo's got a couple of good tunes. Rob Halford's book, was it Confession? Was that what it was? I've also got that on audio book as well with him reading it, which is a great listen. He's led a hell of a life, that guy. You know, I mean, I think it's a bit weird that you call yourself the metal god, but, you know, there's no denying he's certainly up there. Great voice, still doing it well today, and he's influenced so many. Judas Priest have influenced so many. How many bands that went on to be huge and forge their own path in metal and be hugely influential themselves were influenced by Judas Priest. I mean, you know, Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, you know, huge bands who really took that aggression and upped it and, you know, added their own thing to it, and yeah, fucking great. Judas Priest are awesome. Took me a while to realise it, but great band. And my last pick for today's video is Celtic Frost. I never really took to this band at all back in the day, but again, another band that I've probably gotten into, I don't know, sometime over the last 10 years. No, actually, do you know what? It's probably when I started listening to Triptykon, actually. I think it was Triptykon's second album. It came out in 2014. What was it? Melina Chasmata. Really enjoyed that album. And of course, Monotheist, the last Celtic Frost album, is not a million miles. It's pretty much Triptykon, pretty much the same sort of style, just ridiculously heavy. But yeah, over the last, 10 years, I've really started to appreciate the band. If for no other reason than their absolute incredible influence. Once you've really delved into Celtic Frost and you understand the band and the little nuances of the band, you hear them in so many other bands. And believe it or not, you actually hear a lot of Celtic Frost influence in hardcore. They seem to be one of those bands that a tremendous amount of the hardcore bands really appreciate and really respect. And yeah, like I said, it's one of those things, once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. And as soon as you hear the band, get into them, and you just start hearing these little things everywhere. I mean, Barney Greenway from Napalm Death is you know, the oohs are all over Napalm's albums. I mean, they even got a song, I can't remember which album it's on now, where they blatantly ripped off the Procreation of the Wicked riff and did a fucking good job on it as well. Of course, Cold Lake is an interesting album, but it's not without its merit. I do enjoy parts of that album. But overall, Celtic Frost are a pretty legendary band, incredibly influential. They've done a lot for metal, and they were doing it at a time, dear me, they've done a lot for metal, they've done a lot for black metal. You know, a lot of black metal was a derivative of Celtic Frost, what they were doing back in the day. And they were doing it before a lot of bands. They really were, you know, leaders. They were doing it at a time where it was really something new, and, you know, people made fun of them a lot from what I've seen in old footage and documentaries. And, you know, you gotta bow your hat, doff the hat, yeah. Bow yourself, or don't. Incredibly influential band, and one that I'm really glad that I've spent more time with over the years and began to appreciate. So yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say any of these bands were bands that I actually hated per se. They're more just bands that, you know, didn't give them their due, or just wasn't ready for. You know, that happens quite a lot, you know. There's certainly music back in the day where maybe it was too heavy for me at the time, or, you know, I hadn't developed the ears. You know how it is, over the years you listen to more and more metal and different styles, different genres, and you kind of unlock parts of the puzzle. You know, you start understanding techniques and how they feel and how they resonate with you, and then you hear them in other genres that you might not have explored before. But, you know, you've got that sort of, you know, you've got that kind of gateway, got that little entry with those techniques and parts of it that you understand now, and therefore you can start going a bit more technical with your tastes. You know what I'm saying. I'm just going on now. So that's that. 10 bands that I've definitely reconsidered. Some good bands there, I think. Pretty solid list. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what your bands are. And yeah, I'll be back with some other videos. Is what I do, innit? I mean, kind of goes without saying, really. It's a YouTube channel. God. Oh, yeah, there's someone walking behind me now as well. Don't know if you can see him, but I know they're there. This always makes things even more awkward. It's bad enough when it's just the two of us, but still there, I think. Just talking to myself in the field. Nothing to see here. Nothing weird about this. Although I'm gonna have to get used to doing this because I'm starting a second channel very soon. I'm going to be launching it soon, and it's going to be based around travel, and I think you guys are going to like it. And on that bombshell, I'll see you motherfuckers next time.